I'm Amy from inaugeration.com, and today I want to look at the possibility of war. So the current climate is a little bit concerning for everybody. It's been kicking off between Israel and Iran, and now this is really interesting as there is a delicate balance of power that seems to be that Israel is Western oriented and Iran is Eastern. Russia supports Iran, and of course you have the whole Western Ukraine thing. And because of alliances and allegiance, I think we do have a potential for, logically, you'd say a war here. And if it all kicks off, it could be that America goes in to help Israel or Ukraine. Russia may get together with Iran as well, Syria, Lebanon, and it could very easily get out of hand when you look at this in a sort of situation where you're watching the news and you think, oh crikey. And there's a delicate balance there, and if anything really kicks off, there is a concern that a local war could turn into a global war. And that's pretty much how I understand the geopolitical climate and risk of all of that right now. So I want to first start off by looking at the chart of Iran, but we don't have many charts with times, so they're all a bit rubbish. So the best I could do was look at the inauguration of Masoud Pezeshkian. We'll go with that. Pezzy. Should we just call him Pezzy? Anyways, I'm stop being stupid. He was inaugurated on the 30th of July 2024 at 4 p.m. in Tehran, Iran. And this is the best chart I had, as I said, so let's analyse what's going on here. At first glance, this is not a bad chart. And, we have the moon exalted, so it's going to be great for the public. It's a new leader, so he's going to be popular. There's a chant of Mangala Yoga. And this is telling me that Iran is going to be doing well financially. Mars and Jupiter create something very lively and political, and there can be arguments with other nations, as we know. But overall, I think things are looking positive. And Uranus is sitting right on that goal I keep talking about, so that is problematic. Mars and Uranus are showing me that there can be sudden violence, but and there can also be war machines as well, or machines, or sudden technological things, as Mars is science and technology. Iran is very strong, and I think there's a strong connection to their contacts, and they equally have very strong opponents as well. And there's a focus on law and religion as the chart ruler goes to the 9th house. And there is potentially a sadness in the country with that Saturn, but it's good for oil. There are some problems with friends, and they'll be seen by the whole world as being kind of people to try and communicate and create laws. And I think the leaders are going to be quite strong, and there is a lot of power. But I don't think that, this isn't a chart of a country that's going to be consumed with war. But I think there's a lot of communications going on there. And I think that Iran is going to be very clever. I don't think they want war, and they want to minimise their part, and they want to try and broker some peace of sort. And there's been a lot of threats to destroy Iran's oil, and I don't think that's going to happen at all. But there is violence, there are problems. Saturn aspects the ascendant, and the ascendant is in Purva Bhadrapada. This is the scorching and fierce nakshatra, which brings unfortunate events. And the moon gets a tight aspect from K2, can bring sadness, disease, a loss to the public. But it can bring public martyrdom and spirituality as well. The public are interestingly stronger than the leader. And you know, it's odd because you've got all of these planets sitting in Rohini, and what is Rohini about? She was the desirable one. And I think that Iran has something that other nations really want. And I do think that this may keep them safe. And there is a deal to be brokered that looks like a boon, but is actually really great for Iran and not anybody else. But I think it's going to take a long time for anyone to see it. And of course, it's currently in the dasha of Moon and Jupiter as we speak. And that is really, really strong. So I see everything backing down with Iran. I really do. Of course, there'll still be things going on, but not full scale. So let's have a look at Pezeshkian's date of birth. So 29th of September 1954 in Mohammadabad. And the first thing I see is that powerful Kalasapa yoga. This is an incredibly intense chart, and he's got a destiny, and it's difficult to see what's happened with no ascendant, but the Rahu Mars is very aggressive, and it's in the sign of law and religion. So there are ups and downs, sudden windfalls, unusual religious practices as well. So it could really shake things up because there's a rebellious nature, and I think he's going to make some kind of change. And then you've also got Libra. It's really interesting as it's the sign of social freedoms and contracts. It's very dreamy, romantic, and you've got Saturn exalted here. And I wish I knew which house this was. I'd say that this guy's a charmer, or also a snake, and he could negotiate something. I think he is all about communication. It looks really good, but benefits him or Iran. And I think he has the ability to trick someone, but at the same time, if he can stop a war or even calm one, I don't care. I don't care, because the more that we can stop collateral damage, because that's always the problem with war, it's the collateral damage, then, you know, I don't really care about what happens. I think that's a bigger thing, because you don't want it spilling out into, you know, a global conflict. But moving on to Lebanon, they have no president. The last guy just quit. Nope, had enough of this. This is rubbish. So he left his post on the 31st of October 2022, and that was when the spot became active, and it was midnight. So looking at that chart, because it's all we've really got, debilitated sun, first thing I see, and I wonder if they will ever find a leader. I do believe that the outward opinion of the country is not quite the same as what's within the country, so how it looks on the outside isn't what it looks like on the inside. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't think that this is great, but you know, there's a lot of culture and art within. It's very cultural. It's got a lot of just human culture going on. I know nothing about Lebanon. This is just what the chart is saying to me. But another interesting thing that I just want to sort of like as a side note here, when you see a debilitated sun, you would sometimes, or you would naturally want to think, oh, that's bad for gold, that's bad for this, that, the other. I mean, it's not good for confidence. However, it seems that when there is debilitated sun, gold prices actually increase. And with this debilitated sun here, Lebanon is an exporter of gold. How fascinating. They also export diamonds, which is Venus. But Venus is strong, but here it is together. And they also export plastics, which is K2 as well. The moon is in the 6th, and it's aspected by Rahu. So the public can feel like they work and serve under an oppressive but great power, which is influenced by Uranus as well. So that could be electric, someone who's eccentric or something like that. Pluto is about corruption and control. And I think that in the 7th house, this country is going to be controlled by someone else, a foreigner. And there's also a passive aggression, a kind of reluctance to be aggressive, but when pushed for too long, they will retaliate with a greater force and bigger than expected. So it's a very, very long temper, you know, sort of waiting until they have all the resources and then strike. So there could be a problem here if nations do keep poking them over and over again. But Jupiter's really strong in the 9th house, so religion and law are really strong. Netanyahu, so what's he up to? Well, we've been looking at a lot of charts with debilitated suns, and he has one as well. And in the 12th house, you know, could that be secret gold? Where is the gold? And then his 10th house ruler is in the 12th. So his career is actually behind the scenes, and there's something going on behind closed doors. Personally, my opinion, I think he's a puppet who's been installed. Look at him. Debilitated Jupiter in his 9th. Oh, sorry, debilitated Jupiter, and then his 9th ruler is conjunct Ketu. And then you have Pluto sitting in the 9th. The 9th is afflicted by Rahu as well. He talks in riddles. He's not stupid, but he has powerful and confusing friends. He is powerful. All he cares about is his career and his success, and he makes extreme rules, and his problem-solving abilities are extreme. And I think my personal view is that the democracy that we have come to know and love is actually an illusion. I think that's the case with Israel, and I think it's also the case in many Western countries. But I'm derailing from facts now. The big problem with Netanyahu is that he is in Mercury and also Saturn's Dasha, so Mercury Saturn. And as much as Saturn hates being in Leo, it's in the 10th house. So this is great for career. So this is very strong. Mercury is in the 11th, and his friends are in high places. So he's got very influential friends. So who are his friends? Well, the information is obscured. You'll never know. And he's so charming when he comes across to people with that Venus ascendant as well. And he's sneaky. He has many, many secrets. And he isn't as confident as you believe. He's being controlled by his 11th house, by his friends. I really believe that. But, you know, I do think that he is going to be dumped in April 2025 as he goes into a new Dasha of Ketu. And, I think the backer is invisible, and we're not going to find out who it is. But overall, I think that none of this is actually going to get out of hand. I think Iran will do something to calm it all down. And looking at the general transits, I do know a lot of people are predicting world war, but personally, I can't see it. I can't predict that. I do think that we're going to have a rocky time. There's going to be a lot of incidents, death, destruction. But I see them being more isolated or small. I don't see a global war. I think there'll be agitation, and, as always, there'll be people in power killing civilians. But I think, a lot of the war-y stuff is going to die down, around May 2025. I wouldn't be surprised if there isn't an early election in Iran. Netanyahu may step down, or he may be booted out. His government may say to him, "You're rubbish," or his influential friend may say, "No, I'm done with you." But I think for Iran it's not too bad. But one thing I will say that I've noticed is a lot of Western countries will start going into dashes of problematic planets in 2026. So I don't think in the next year there's going to be a huge problem. But as I said, I'm more concerned about Western countries. Kier Starmer, he's got that horrible, horrible Pluto conjunct Sun in his 11th house. And that says to me, he spends time, and his friends are very influential, domineering, controlling, the kings, supreme leaders. And his nodes are going to be activated by the upcoming Mars and Pluto opposition. And I think that's going to create problems for him. I don't think it's going to be overly significant enough to impact the whole country. But Saturn in Capricorn and Pluto in his natal chart, sorry, Saturn is in Pluto, sorry, I'll get there eventually. Saturn is in Capricorn and Pluto will be crossing over this by transit. I think this could be something to do with money, but that is already happening in the way of scandal. He has a lot of scandal, I believe, to potentially come out. King Charles and his ascendant is around this point as well, impacted by the Mars transit on his ascendant. He could be unsafe, so he needs to watch his health and his safety and security during this time. Joe Biden has his Pluto at 14 degrees and his Jupiter is at 2 degrees. So, you know, the worrying part here is whether America is going to be impacted by the upcoming transits. And I think they will. I've already said, you know, that I think that there could be some kind of terror attack in November or December. And I think that's really going to impact America. Vladimir Zelensky, his natal Mars is at 6 degrees, so there could be something happening with Ukraine as well. He also has his Venus and his Sun in Capricorn, opposed that Mars, and this can be impacted. So again, he could be unsafe during this time. Xi Jinping, I thought I'd just check him out. He's got K2 in Cancer, where Mars is going to be passing over, but I don't think that's going to be really a huge impact. Vladimir Putin, nothing going on in his chart that I can really see that's standing out to me. Justin Trudeau, he has his Venus at 10 degrees of Capricorn and Pluto's floating around at that degree, so there's a lot of betrayal potentially in his workplace. And, you know, something could happen because the eclipse occurred and was viewable in America and Canada, so Canada could be dragged into something. I think it's mostly America, if I'm completely honest. But I hope that gives some people at least a sense of relief. Of course, do be careful and mindful when you vote. I think you need to take a warning seriously. Like, for instance, there was some terrible storms that went through Florida and caused a lot of damage. And this is the kind of turbulence that we need to be mindful of in general, especially when you've got a lot of problematic planets in the sky. And also check your chart as well, see if there's anything that lines up. And if you don't know how to check your chart, you can book a reading with me at moonmindology.com and I can give you advice. But I hope there's a little bit less worry about World War III. And I will see you next week. Thank you so much. Bye. What's up? You want to comment about the social climate, do you? Is that... Yeah? Do you think there's going to be a world war? Do you? No? Well, that's good. Me neither.